There was some nasty sort of quality that he had that I absolutely admired. Out of the four guys
it was your horribleness
Queen,
that really appealed to me, actually.
Out of the four guys in Queen, I spotted Roger as the troublemaker and the most fun immediately. And so I thought, I should probably be mates with this lad.
Stars, cars, guitars.
Welcome back to Stars, Cars, Guitars. My name's Alex Dyke. Now, if you get confused, I'm the one with the slightly grey hair and the grey beard. My good friend Jim Cregan is here.
Slightly grey-haired and very grey beard. And who have we got? Have we still got Tony Hadley with us? We have, haven't we?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, international singing star, Tony Hadley.
True.
Gold. Actually, it's ash blonde hair. Thank you.
No, it's not.
Well,
Is that what it says on the bottle?
yeah.
Okay.
Right, guys, now the audience, and you particularly, Jim, are going to be pleased with this. I'm going to take a bit of a back seat on this.
About time.
Because you two have been great buddies for years, and I don't want to get in the way and interrupt, like you're interrupting me at this moment.
That's all I do. It's my favourite thing. I'm the international interrupter.
I've got a couple of questions here just to get you going. First one is, how did you two first meet?
Labour Exchange, I think, wasn't it? Or was it in that line at the
I think
prison?
it's the STD clinic in Paddington, wasn't it?
I'm glad you didn't bring that up.
Yeah.
No. Rog, where was it?
Well, I think we met at Top of the Pops. That fabulous programme, that litmus test of
of patience.
all the worst things happening in English pop music. It was one of the penances that we had to go by. Jim had just done the brilliant solo in the middle of Come Up and See Me.
Thank you.
Make Me Smile.
Yes, that would be it. And you guys were...
He's been making me smile ever since.
what tune do you think you lot were performing?
Honestly, don't know.
But Bohemian Rhapsody hadn't come out.
No, I think it might have been Killer Queen. Probably.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, one of the great problems was with Top of the Pops is you had to get signed into the BBC bar. Do you remember that business?
Yeah, I just remember it being just dreary, dreadful, everlasting rubbish. Where we had to pretend that we were playing instruments. You wait around all day.
Rubber cymbals.
Yeah, rubber cymbals. You wait around all day to pretend you were playing your latest record, whilst being watched by 13 and a half sort of miserable-looking young people that were being herded around the studio with sticks. Really, it didn't have anything to do with what was actually happening in music at the time, I thought. No,
you're right. Yes, you're right about that. No, they did have the Top of the Pops orchestra, and I remember that my wife at the time, Linda Lewis, she had this song called it was from the Mikado, "The Moon and I." It was a quite a pretty arrangement, and I think I produced it, and I also played the classical guitar on it. And so they gave this to the orchestra because every show, one act would actually be live with the orchestra. That was part of the Musicien Julien, easy for me to say. I remember that the guy had a lot of trouble playing the acoustic guitar part. It wasn't that it was that difficult, but you know how these things are. And so I remember volunteering. I said, look, why don't you just let me play it? And they said, well, you can't.
No.
And I said, well, I'm in the union. They said, it doesn't matter. He said, if you play, we have to pay you. And we haven't got a budget for you, so you can't play. And I thought, this is really silly. This is, so this guy's going to make a mess of it. I'm standing here, I could do it. And that was the sort of, the way it worked.
Yeah, the whole attitude of the BBC was sort of hopeless. It was just sort of cobwebbed. It was just all sort of rules and paperwork. And it was just so crap, all run by old people who hadn't got a clue, and not sure much has changed today, actually.
Well, they managed to throw the programme away. But we were talking earlier about Ready, Steady, Go, which was far hipper, far more fun, and people played live. Isn't that?
Oh yeah, it was the difference was incredible. It was like Ready Steady Go knew what was going on, and there was a lot going on, especially in the 60s. It was London was like the hotbed of the centre of popular music in the world. It went out to conquer the world. We had the Who, the Kinks, obviously the Beatles, Stones, and all that really exciting stuff. And Ready Steady Go had its finger on the pulse, and Top of the Pops was in intensive care. They never featured an album spot when it was really albums were more important than singles.
Yeah.
I mean, I just remember hanging around in that circular building, getting lost, getting bored, and then getting drunk.
Yeah, that was the only good bit. So once you got yourself signed into the BBC club where you could get a beer or a drink or anything, then you were kind of all right. But you had to hang about for somebody who was a member of the BBC club to let you in. I mean, you weren't as an artist appearing on Top of the Pops, you'd have thought you'd have got a free pass. Not bloody likely.
No, artists came
very low down on the list.
In the BBC.
Well, especially us, which we're not really artists at all, are we? Piss artists, I think, probably would qualify.
Lots of functionaries,
yeah.
What an odd place it was, but anyway, it's now gone to Salford. Good luck, Salford.
Yeah.
So did you guys get thick and fast quickly, or did you just bump into each other in another TV studio on another tour? Jim, you were in Cockney Rebel at the time, signed to EMI. Rog, Queen, signed to EMI.
Yeah.
Were there good EMI Christmas parties?
No, I don't ever remember going to one.
No, neither do I.
There were some good people at EMI. Bob Mercer, do you remember Bob Mercer?
I do, very well, yeah, he was good. There were some great people at EMI, but as you were saying, I mean, it was really the second thing. We just bump into one another, crossing, in a bus or, on the M1 or something, or in a TV studio. It was
there was some nasty sort of quality that he had that I absolutely admired.
Yeah.
It was out of the four guys
it was your horribleness
Queen.
that really appealed to me, actually.
Out of the four guys in Queen, I spotted Roger as the troublemaker and the most fun immediately, and so I thought I should probably be mates with this lad. And so we did, and we would, every time we were in the same bit of town or whatever, we'd find a way to hang out. We had homes that were only sort of one block apart in LA, and funnily enough, mine was on just off Queen's Road, and his was on King's Road, and they were either side of the Hyatt House, which is a famous hangout, and I would wander over to his place, and I remember one afternoon I'd come round just I don't know for what, for a game of pool or something, I can't remember exactly, and he
a large block of opium. And a game of pool, Yeah.
And we were sitting around having tea or a glass of wine, and there's this plate of cookies on the table. They said, have a cookie, Jim. I said, I don't mind if I do. And I had a cookie. That's really nice. I loved them. So I had a couple. But I didn't realise at the time. And suddenly I see them kind of giggling a little bit out of the corner of my eye, and I think, oh no, what have I done? And these were hash cookies.
We'd just been in San Francisco, and I'd got these hash cookies from, and they were quite famous, and God, they were good, weren't they?
They were very good.
But you only have one.
Yeah, you're not supposed to have two.
About 6, and as he slid under the coffee table, off the sofa, and literally under the coffee table, it provided me with much amusement.
Huge amusement, because then it was the problem of getting home. Which I have no idea how I got home.
I don't think you did get home.
Probably just stayed there till I came to.
Left him under the coffee table, yeah.
So that's the sort of neighbour I had.
Yeah.
And then there was a very nice evening where, so there was a Sunday, the Brits in LA that I hung out with, Robin Le Mesurier, of course, and Lionel Conway, who was a publisher, a music publisher, and my bandmate Rod Stewart, and we would have these dinner parties every Sunday when everybody was in town. It was a proper Sunday roast, all the nonsense. And Roger had been to a few of these, and I remember ringing him up and saying, "Listen, we have a dinner. Are you around?" Yeah, I'm around. Yeah. Okay, so 8 o'clock, and it's being cooked by me and my wife. So it's not, this is not a restaurant where you can just not. He didn't order, so you can order when he gets here. So we started a bet after about 9 o'clock. We started a sweepstake about what time Rog would arrive in 15-minute increments, and. He arrived about 10 o'clock, but guess who won the sweepstake, which was about $100 by this time? Guess who?
I'm guessing Rod Stewart.
Yes, very good guess. Very good guess.
And he said, I said the traffic was terrible getting here, and I only live about 2 minutes away. But I had actually escorted a young lady, I think, to the
You've gone to the cinema, haven't you?
To see the cinema.
Yeah.
And it wasn't quite a way away, and it took me hours to go, and that's a terrible traffic.
But
I think Rod just said, he's been to the bleeding pictures.
But the funny part for me was
It was a bit embarrassing.
the funny part. Your dinner was in the dog, so it was easy. But the funny part of that story for me was 3 or 4 months later, the phone rings. Hello? Hey Jim, it's Rog. Oh, hello Rog. So I'm in LA and he's in England. He said, I'm just driving down the A3 on my way home. Oh, okay. He said, I just wanted to say how sorry I am. I was late for dinner. 3 or 4 months later. It's like a delayed reaction.
I must have had an attack of loveliness.
Yeah, you must have come over all conscience and.
So in the early 80s, when you're hanging out in LA and living in the UK as well, whatever you guys were doing, and you're having hit after hit after hit, you, Jim, of course, with the Rod Stewart Band, and Roger in Queen, is there much competition? I know you're friends. Is there much friendly rivalry or serious competition? Because at the end of the day, you want that number 1 spot, don't you?
No, not from my end. No, the competition was between Rod and Elton, but between Queen and us, we were just mates. I mean, we'd go sailing together, we'd go out for dinner together. We didn't. I mean, I can only speak for myself. Rod's more competitive than I am, but the way it works really is. Your job is to write some songs, the best songs you know how, record them in the most interesting way you can and sounding great, and have fun while you're doing it, and put that out and leave it to the public to decide whether they want to buy it or not.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't feel competitive. I love the Rod Stewart Band, they're great, and we had some good fun, good times together. And Rod and Elton, they were friends, but I think they were quite competitive.
Yeah, they were.
They were going to get a band together at some point with Freddie. It was going to be Hair, Nose and Teeth.
I remember that. Yeah. That was great, yeah.
But, it was just a laugh, really. And we didn't feel like competitors. We felt like fellow pop people.
Yeah, I think the
rock people.
We were a rock band. I think the competitiveness is generally drummed up by somebody in the press. As somebody in Coldplay said this about Robbie Williams, let's make a story about it. That kind of crap. I don't really think.
Did they?
I don't know. I just made that up. You see how this stuff
happens?
Should we
make up a good one then?
Yeah.
Terrible what that bloke in Coldplay said about Robbie Williams. Oh, poor Robbie.
All true, though. All true.
Yeah,
it was true.
Yeah.
And that tattoo, they had to have that overwritten, didn't they? So,
As for the gerbil.
Stars, Cars, Guitars. Subscribe. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and starscarsguitars.co.uk.
If you look at the charts now, everyone is in cahoots with everybody else. Just about everything in the charts is 2 stars on the same record. Ed Sheeran may even record the same record with Taylor Swift and then with someone else. But
one of them's going to stick, isn't it?
Well, exactly. But when Elton got together with Kiki D, they both happened to be on the same record label, so that was easy to do. What about when David Bowie comes in the studio for Under Pressure? Was there some kind of competition then?
No, I mean, I absolutely adored David. I seriously admired him, and I think we got on really well. And it was just a pure. We started off. He just dropped by. We'd had dinners and stuff, and then we started jamming. We were doing old Cream songs and just for fun, you know. And the whole thing was for fun. And he was at the piano, and he said, "I tell you what, why don't we write one of our own?" You know, there was no A&R man going, "You two guys should get together." No, it was just pure. This could be good. This could be fun.
Sure.
Creative, and it was good. I love that song actually.
Yeah, it's a great record.
Yeah, we could have. We had a few technical problems recording it actually, but we finished it off in New York in the end. But yeah.
What I mean, keys?
Well, we had an engineer. Our engineer, I'll tell you the truth. He'd been used to work. This is boring. He'd been used to working with a Harrison board, and we got into the power station. I was there with David, and it was one of these new SSL boards. And he didn't have a clue how to work it. So we had to really cobble it together as a monitor mix. It's called a monitor mix. And not using the whole board. And bit of a... so really it was a shame, because I think it could have actually sounded better than it did. Although I like that record.
That's hard for us to imagine, to our ears.
Yeah, because
it's pretty much perfection to us as fans.
Yeah, it sounds like a great record. Yeah, but I know what you mean.
Well, it's very real.
Yeah, but that's but that's a conversation I was having with somebody the other day about how slick a show should be, because I just did a couple of concerts with two guys who I don't normally play with. They came in to stand in for my bass player and my keyboard player, and they were both wonderful musicians and everything. But they're not the A team. They're new guys coming in, and any kind of slickness there was going to be to the concert went out the window. There were people coming in playing the wrong song because they didn't read the list properly, and me counting things. I mean, I got the audience to count the song in at one point, and they were too slow. I said, "No, you're rubbish. Come on, hurry up. It's got to be." And there's all this crap going on.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I was talking to somebody. I said, this really wasn't very, as a concert, it was really kind of shabby. And they went, "We like that." And I thought, there's an idea that we need to be as polished and as smart as we think we should be? Or is this just our kind of tradition of wanting it all to be smooth? I mean,
that's a good point. I think that's a really good point. And it's hard because we rehearse, a lot, to try and make it good. But we do tend to forget that, and I do think people love it. They love it if they think something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
And then you laugh your way out of it. They love that.
Yeah.
And they also like it when something is or appears to be spontaneous. Because they're seeing something that, I bet that didn't happen last night.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of comics build mistakes into their routines, where they dry up or something, and then and it's actually part of the routine. They sort of de-slick it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, this was
comedy trick.
Yeah, I was thinking that this was none of this was deliberate. This was just me getting it wrong. Coming in, but half the band played it in A, and the other half of us played it in C.
F.
That wasn't that bad. But at the moment, and then I stopped the show.
That's not spontaneous.
No, that's
all good.
But I stopped the show and swore a bit, and then laughed, and all the audience are laughing and enjoying it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was only 2 bars before I stopped it, but of course, I'm working on the principle that I don't think we need to be quite as tidy as we think we need to be, and I think that's a possibility. That, I mean, I saw your show and absolutely loved it, and it was pretty tight.
Well, we're such good bluffers.
Yeah. But with the other thing is, the bigger the production gets, the more difficult it is to ad lib, because
true.
The lighting, the camera, the everything's sort of synced up. You can't throw a song away and say, let's not do this one, let's do that one, because everybody's got to scramble and reset the computers, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we don't use that many computers.
No, I didn't mean tracks. I meant the
yeah.
lighting computers.
Oh yeah, the lighting computer.
And the desk is already sort of automated, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But it's nice to build in bits where you can override and manually work lights and stuff. It's all so automated now.
Yeah.
We try and de-automate it a bit to get some spontaneity and if you want to drag out a song, it's going really well. Or, I agree with that. And I like the fact that us lot, and I know you're really live. I think, and I've thought it might be a good idea. Really, I'd like to know what you think about this, Alex. That there should be a disclaimer on the ticket that says some of the music you hear tonight will be pre-recorded. Yeah, absolutely.
Or the music you hear tonight will be all played live on stage. I think the audience kind of deserve to know.
Yeah, no,
it's called cheating, isn't it?
I agree.
Really? Yeah.
But what I would say, if I knew Roger a little bit better, Jim, what I might ask him...
With another glass of wine?
No, I'm all right with my tea.
Oh, all right then. Yeah,
what I might ask Roger is, in the mid-70s, groups like ELO and Queen were so good, so orchestral, so operatic, so rock and roll, that actually there was a bit of a backlash because kids on the street couldn't be that good, so punk rock started.
Yeah.
Is punk rock Roger Taylor's fault?
Take the blame.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
No.
But you must have said that
well, the
to
thing
you
about
before.
Punk was, I mean, in some ways it was refreshing. There wasn't actually much good that came out of it in the end. I loved the Pistols records and some of the Clash stuff.
Yeah, I like the Clash a lot.
But I mean, the credentials for punk was that, one, you can't play. 2, you can't sing. 3, you can gob.
Yep. And throw yourself into the audience.
But I mean, when you look back at it, it was more of a fashion than a genuine sort of musical revolution. Although if you call them Ramones punk, I'm not sure they are really. But I like what they did. I like that short, sharp. But some of it was such rubbish, and some of it was great.
Yeah, I
haven't answered the question, have I?
No, you've been
dodged it very well, Roger.
A good dodging.
Do you guys remember having a conversation about this new music's arrived? So, summer 77, you're in the charts with Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy. Rod's number 1 with I Don't Want to Talk About It. Do you remember thinking, we need to do something a little bit different now? Or do you think, we're just going to...
No, I mean, we were in the same studio as the Pistols when Chris Thomas walked in the studio and turned a real turd into a beautiful 3-course meal. Because it was rope, it was so awful. But and then he made that great, he's a great producer. He made that great record. But we realized that something was going on, and we had these fantastically complex arrangements and with masses of overdubs and all that. And then so I remember thinking, and I think I was probably the prime mover in the band, we have to simplify, we have to strip it down, and that's why we made the News of the World album, which was so different to what had come before, but it had energy and it was stripped down and raw,
Yeah.
And We Will Rock You. You can't get simpler than that.
No, that's fantastically simple, and what a great track.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a very successful track, but I mean, it didn't have any instruments on it, apart from a little bit of guitar at the end.
Yeah.
Some pretty good drums.
No drums on it. There are no drums on that track.
Is that a machine?
No machines at all.
It's all stamping.
Boots and hands.
Oh,
really?
Okay, yeah.
And we did it with, Brian devised this thing, using prime numbers, which is a delay, it's a digital delay, it's all in prime numbers, which are indivisible.
Okay.
Right? So
Oh,
So
one.
so the
3,
delays don't interfere with themselves. They don't build up. And every delay.
Wow.
So it goes.
Oh.
You know, it goes that sound.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
we-
Weren't you a little bit miffed saying, "Look, I can play this, Brian. I'm a great drummer. I can play We Will Rock You. I'm going to have to play
I can,
it live
and I do
anyway."
every night when we're on tour. But no, it's not the same. It's a different sound. It's a sound that people hadn't heard before.
No, that's
you know.
really clever.
You know.
Yeah.
So it was clever. It was
Very clever. And I'm going to steal that idea about the prime numbers. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it worked. You know,
Yeah.
he is a physicist and mathematician, but and loads of people use it now. I hear it all the time. I hear it on claps, particularly on claps, finger snaps. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about then, guys? Disco, right? Around about the same time, you're producing, working on, writing, riffing up Do You Think I'm Sexy? Big number one. Queen do another one, Bites the Dust, about 6 months later. Huge Billboard America number one. Is it all right to call that a disco track?
I call it a sort of funk dance track, really.
Yeah.
Not. I know disco's got so many connotations. Yeah, kind of.
I mean,
Yeah,
they both
yeah,
worked. They're
yeah.
both classics.
Yeah.
They're both played
Yeah.
today. Do you remember having a conversation with Rod saying, "We better do this. This is huge disco. It's as big as rock and roll. It's taken over the world." Do you remember having those conversations?
No, I think you and maybe other people in the industry think that we consider all these things. We don't. We liked Miss You.
Stones.
And I Miss You. And we said, that's a nice track. We like
Yeah.
that. Let's have a go at something that goes along those lines. That's all. That was the only thought we had. And then Rod had come back from South America with a carnival in Rio, and he had that line in his head. Bum, ba, ba, bum, bum, ba, da, 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 da. And
Didn't he get into trouble?
he
over
got
that?
into trouble because he thought, you know, this is. I mean, I've had these things where I think I'm writing an original song, and actually it's something that I heard some time ago, and I play it to somebody, and they go, well, you know, that's just like something, and then I go,
Oh, I
you're
didn't
right.
think of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was if there was an inspiration, and then Phil Chen, the wonderful bass player, had that,
he was
came
great.
up with that.
I loved him.
Which was. I don't think he was the first one that ever played that, but Do You Think I'm Sexy was the one that brought that really to the fore. In my, I don't know what bass players are thinking, but he was a great bass player, Phil Chen.
He's a brilliant bass player.
Absolutely wonderful. So we're not. So the idea that we're thinking strategically, our team never did. The record company might be trying to do something strategic, out there in a corner, but the band were only just doing things like, we like this song, we could do something in that vein, but not copy it, but the feel of. I mean, Young Turks was an homage, if you like, to what was it? Johnny and Mary.
Robert Palmer.
Robert Palmer, yeah.
Ah, okay.
That was an homage to him, and he was a mate of ours. His Addicted to Love, he said, was an homage to Hot Legs. So.
Are you joking?
Yeah,
That's one of the best records of the 80s.
I know, it's a great record. Yeah. So yeah, it's more about your peers and the things that they do that you like that influence you, rather than strategically thinking. You can't always. The idea of aiming towards the charts is it doesn't work. It's kind of no.
But disco was everywhere. It was in the air. I mean, it was so big, and now by some people it's frowned upon. I'm a big fan of it, and it has really lasted now.
Yeah,
what are your memories of going to the studio and?
Well, I remember there was a big thing about disco or rock, and we tried to sort of. I don't know really. I do remember going, because Freddie got after Another One Bites the Dust. We strayed a bit too far into the realms of sort of disco and dance stuff. And we had one of those dreadful fucking drum machines, which, for a moment there we thought, oh, these things are wonderful. And then, as soon as we got into the studio, we thought, oh, this is a bit much. And then we started to sort of, for a moment there we thought, oh, these things are wonderful. And as the years have gone by, I've come to loathe and despise them more and more and more. I hate the sound of them. They don't sound right. Everything about it. And it's all right. The drums are a thing of the past. The drums have never been more popular than they are now.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. I think it's great because they're real, and kids love hitting things.
So do grown men.
It's not me, really. I just like hitting things, you know.
Very therapeutic.
Oh, the drum machines, when it took over in the 80s. And you listen to those records now, to me they sound horrible.
They don't stand up very well, do they?
No, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't.
I noticed
Horrible sounding records. And I have to say, you know, we have used them, you know, like Radio Gaga was built with machines. I built it with machines. And I Want to Break Free, which was a very big hit, not in America, but everywhere else, was done around a drum machine, and which is why I don't really like the sound of it very much today. You know, it's good track, good song, very simple, very popular, great sentiment, but fucking awful drum sound, you know.
Yeah. I
You know.
Stars, Cars, Guitars. Subscribe. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and starscarsguitars.co.uk.
So if you're enjoying watching this on YouTube, don't forget we have a channel, Stars, Cars, Guitars. You can subscribe now. Lots of friends, lots of guests, talking a lot about rock and roll, a little bit about cars. We need to catch up doing more about cars, quite a lot on guitars, but we haven't really done boats. And you two are into...
We're into boats, mate. Yeah. Especially in the bath.
Okay.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that it? Was I going on? What's all this? Was I going
No,
on?
no,
It
not
was just a moment. We just had a moment there.
No, we like boats.
I come from Poole in Dorset, which is and I was in the Sea Scouts, and they teach you how to sail, and I was only in tiny little boats, which are just as much fun as great big boats. Just can't bring as many people with you. And when I went to America, that was my thing, was to rent not very big boats, you know, maybe 30 foot, 25, 30 foot, 35 foot boats, and go out and sail for the day,
well.
and go over to maybe to Catalina and spend the night. And Rog and myself and Rod and Robin and Missouri would be the crew, and what a wretched lot. First of all,
Well, Rob would just read a book.
yeah, or phone women.
Oh, yeah.
But this gave both of us still have a lifelong love of sailing boats, and Roger has very kindly had me sail on the last boat he had. We went away for a week in around Ibiza. And there's something very beautiful about the engines go off and the sails fill, and it's incredibly primitive. It's almost as primitive as people sitting around a fire. It's got the same thing. You're being carried by the wind, and
it's one of the last great freedoms, I think.
Yeah, and there's risk as well, isn't it? That's the other thing that's cool about it. You know, this is the ocean, and it can bite you really hard. So you've got all this kind of this peace, and yet there's a certain undercurrent of excitement about, you know, what if something goes wrong, you know, can't phone the AA, you know, the police can't come round tomorrow, you know, you might get somebody who can find you in a helicopter, but good luck with that.
Yeah.
So I know Roger's great joy is sailboats too, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you going off somewhere in a minute?
I am going off to St. Bart's, in the Caribbean. For a regatta on a friend's boat, and not my boat actually this time. But yeah, lovely. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, it'll be great.
In the meantime, I've got to go home and feed the cat. No, I don't. I haven't got a cat. The dog. I lied.
I've definitely got to go home and feed the dog. Guys, thank you very much, Roger.
Oh,
thank
pleasure.
you, especially to you, for allowing us into your beautiful home to do
this.
this.
Oh no, pleasure.
Thanks, Roger. Yeah, thanks a lot. Nice to see you.
Okay, very nice. Always nice to see you. Yeah. Very nice to see you guys. Yeah.
Stars, Cars, Guitars.
Okay, so we out of here?
Yeah.
We're out of here.
Right, so long, YouTubers and other peoples. Thanks for joining us. And it's good night from him.
They're all going to fuck off now.
Stars, Cars, Guitars was produced by Tom Stroud.